If you are enjoying this podcast and other podcasts on the Dragon Wagon Radio Network, be sure to check out the Dragon Wagon Shop. Awesome t-shirts and mugs from your favorite shows so you can tout your podcast pride, all while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. And make sure to check it often for new items and limited time designs. So shop now at dragonwagonshop.com and get your dragon swag on.
In a mythical land of magic beasts and blades known as Burbank, California, an independent podcast network sets off for the greatest adventure of their pitiful lives. This is Dungeons and Dragon Wagon.
Hello and welcome to Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, the Rymoor Reason, a D&D inspired homebrew role-playing game recorded and released out into the world for your entertainment. Oh my goodness, I hope you are entertained. And as I must say, this podcast is best in headphones to get the most immersive experience. Throw on the nicest pair of headphones you have. But still, if you're just in the car, please enjoy it. Listen, it's still as hopefully enjoyable that way. I am your host with the boast, Jake Lloyd. I am a writer, director, and host of podcasts like Elaborate and Me, You, and 30 Other Men. Find me on Twitter at Liquid Jake, on Instagram at Jake Lloyd. And I am playing the half-orcan fighter Junk. Say hi, Junk. How's it going? It's going pretty great. How about you? You know what? We got Orny back. He's got all of his hands and all of his feet and all of his tiny toes, and everything's going to be all right.
I also still have my genitals.
Oh, he still has his genitals. And with me, as always, are my acquaintances in adventure. She is a writer and poet and friend to the animals. Host of Me, You, and 30 Other Men. Find her on Twitter and Instagram at Alexandra Hoy. It's Alexandra Hoy.
Bonjour.
How are you doing?
I'm still very caffeinated, as I frequently am on the show.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'm ready. I'm not ready.
We all have teas.
We have teas.
It's a big tea day here in the Dragon's
We
Den.
need to be soothed.
Oh, we're going to need some soothing, all right. Alexandra, of course, is playing the human ranger Adeline. Say hi, Adeline.
Hi.
Adeline, you all right? You a little gassy?
I have a little acid reflux. It's just been killing me.
Why?
Well, I downed this. It's a whole thing, but there was a fire burp, and I'm
A fire burp?
Yeah.
Oh, you must be fun at parties. And to her left, of course, he is the man with no foe. He is a writer and director, and he is the man who is as tall as his hands are gentle. Find him on Twitter at Matt_Hingstman, on Instagram at mhingstman. It's Matt Hingstman.
Guten Abend.
God bless you. How do you feel?
I'm very excited. I'm nervous. I'm sad. I'm all the emotions at once.
This is our finale.
Yeah.
The finale.
The finale.
The last one.
I'm looking you dead in the eyes and letting you know this is the finale. So if Matson has any more secrets.
Like, what is his first or last name?
Oh, what is his name? Maybe he'll tell us, because of course Matt is playing the Shadow Elf rogue Matson. Say hi, Matson.
Hi.
Matson, what's your name?
It's Monson.
Oh, of course. I don't know why I even bothered. And to his left, returning guest of Quest for Chapter 10, actor, improviser, and voice actor. May have seen him on Princess Rap Battle's Poppins versus Claus episode, as well as maybe, portraying everybody's favorite wizard, Sirius Black, in Severus Snape and the Marauders, a fantastic web series, as well as those same producers and creators' radio play podcast, The Great Wizarding War. Find him on Twitter at Kevin Allen Says, and on Instagram at Kevin Allen Graham, the one and only Kevin Allen.
Hey!
You're
hey,
back.
everyone, I'm back!
You did it! You're back!
So excited.
so
I got a
excited.
new cup of tea and everything.
Yeah, are you excited? You were thrown into the very end of our game.
It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig.
It's a tough gig to get thrown in at any point, but you're now at the very, very end. Do you feel what are we rubbing off on you?
No. You guys, because you guys, obviously you are all nervous and you're excited and your feet are tingling because you've been building to this grand conclusion.
Right.
For me, I'm like, I'm just getting started. I got the initial nerves of I hope I'm doing this right out of the way, and now I'm like, okay, let's keep going.
Oh,
and
you are so great.
None of us are doing it right.
I absolutely love Henny.
Listen.
You did such a great job
Thank
with
you.
him. And did you know that he is king, heir to all of Brayfrost?
I did not know that.
Wow.
That was
Well,
So
to the point
baller.
where like when Paul announced it and made the revelation of who his parentage is, I was like, am I supposed to know this? Like what do I say? I'm just kind of surprised.
we were all surprised. And we're sure we're going to be more surprised because in order to wrap up our first season here, the Rymoor reason, I must hand the reins over for the last time to our fearless DM. He is the creator and god of these lands. He is a writer and host of Myth Understood. Find him on Twitter and Instagram at the Paul Bianchi. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Paul Bianchi.
Hi.
Hello.
Paul, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm really excited to explain the Rymoor reason. I mean, it's time. It's time. There's been a lot of winding roads, a lot of questions that created more questions, and now there are answers that hopefully answers.
So this is going to be a better season finale than Lost, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have all actually been dead since Cragshore.
No.
Nora's crazy brother killed you all, and
And based on the last chapter, Adeline is the smoke monster, if you know what I mean.
yeah, right.
Fart jokes.
Wow.
So before we officially dive in, I just want to let everybody listening know that at the end of our last chapter, after the revelation of exactly who Henny truly was, we did ransack that evil little fucker's alchemy den. And so if you want to hear that, you can only hear that at dndwpod.com. It's not in your feed, but you can listen to all the stuff that we stole. We got some potions. We got some fun stuff from him before we set out.
Yeah, you guys healed up, which is important.
We also healed up, which was crucial.
For what? For what? What could we possibly need to heal up for?
I don't know. Probably all the hugs that Junk is going to give
A
everybody.
lot of hugs.
This is going to be a really hug-heavy
Drum
chapter.
circle.
And without further ado, let's dive right into Chapter 10, Part 2, Live to Tell the Tale. And away we go. The sorcerers were tall, slender men with long gray beards and long, bony fingers. The magic they wielded was so strong that they hovered at all times, only the tails of their deep blue robes dragging on the earth. Of the 9 men, the most powerful was called Shel, for he was the most cruel, the most ruthless, the most willing to exert the full extent of his force. It was Shel that felled the first Sky Tiller, Temu the Merciful, with a crack of black lightning through the giant's heart. When the newly risen demon goddess Rasa faced Shel on the battlefield, she knew she had to be as ruthless as he. She had realized she did not have the power to kill him, so she cast a spell on her ally, the remaining Sky Tiller, Amek, instead, tethering his life force to Shel's. Then, she manipulated Shel into striking Amek with the total force of his magic. The blast not only fractured Amek into hundreds of charred fragments, but decimated Shel as well, in a shockwave that rid the central plains of the Rymoor Hills, canyons, mountains, and forest, and created what became known as Shel's Basin. Rasa and her Orcan army ran the remaining sorcerers out of Rymoor, but that history, like most things in Rymoor, became lost under layers of ice and dust. Rin, Junk, and the Silent Sisters across Rymoor received this vision from Dark Shalene simultaneously. For Junk, this occurs just as he's about to open the door to the Filgarth barracks, where Commander Menshall's office resides.
Junk, dizzied from the vision, stumbles over. What was that?
Oh, Junk, are you okay?
Junk.
What happened? Did you bump your head?
No,
He's so clumsy sometimes.
I think I don't know. I saw something. A vision.
Of what?
Yeah, he bumped his head.
What do you mean you got a vision?
I felt Dark Shalene. She was communicating with me. She shared visions and knowledge.
Does that mean you're a silent sister now?
Oh, I guess so.
Well, I think you would be a beautiful sister.
Oh, crap, though. I spoke already. The vow of silence. I already broke it. Think she's going to be mad at me?
Junk, what was in the vision?
What wasn't in the vision? I mean, I saw everything. The old world wizards, the Sky Tillers, Shel, Amek, Temu, the history of all of Rymoor, Rasa tethering Shel's life to Amek and tricking him into manifesting his own undoing. I saw the magical outpouring of his death, the destructive blast that created Shel's basin, and then
okay,
Shel's
all right.
landing
Junk,
and the power
Junk,
of...
slow down. Too much information at once.
I'm sorry, Addie. It's a lot to just suddenly know.
You said that this vision, that's what has happened. and that Shel is dead. Shel has been destroyed.
Oh, yes, it happened so long ago that every remnant of its history is buried generation after generation beneath the snow and sands of Rymoor.
Well, what did my father mean in saying we needed to stop Shel?
Your father?
His mother, father.
You're going to have to explain that to me at least 5 more times before I get it.
Well, if Amick and Shel's lives are tethered, and Menshall was trying to bring back Amick...
Well, you'd think with one comes the other.
The Queen said Menshall had no idea what he was doing. I don't think we should rule out the resurrection of Shel as an accident.
Did Darkshalene say she'd be helping us in any way?
Not that I can say. She showed me only the past.
Well, so long as you're okay, Junk, I think we should proceed inside lest we attract the attention of zombie soldiers.
Yes, let's do that. And Adeline tries to push open the door to the barracks to enter?
When Adeline touches it, it swings open. Not only was it unlocked, but it wasn't even closed all the way.
Well, that's odd.
Look around. Everything about this is odd.
Adeline enters cautiously, and I want to immediately roll perception. That's a 10.
The journey into Filgarth was surprisingly quiet, abandoned, and filled with signs of struggle and death. This room is no exception. It's the bottom floor of a cylindrical tower. There are 10 cots in 2 rows of 5 lining the walls. There's a corpse of a gnome woman littering the center of the room, and a pair of severed legs sitting bloody on a cot. There's also a set of double doors, half ajar on the wall opposite, leading rather ominously into a dark hallway.
Monson walks over to the body of the woman, and I want to roll an investigation to see what I can learn. That's a 9.
The corpse of the gnome woman is dressed in what you assume to be nurse's attire. She has a bloody scalpel beside her and a crumpled note in her hand.
I reach down and take the note and open it.
The note reads, "They can kill me, but they'll never take my soul."
Henny, look at this note. Any idea what it might mean?
What? Me?
Oh, is that a gnome saying? Anything like that?
That's not a gnome
It's
saying.
not an idiom.
I think she was just...
It's a bit trite, if you ask me, honestly. They
Horny.
can kill me, but they'll never take my soul. Fuck you.
All right, gang, let's go through the doors. Adeline walks over and opens the doors.
The hallway is pitch black, and it continues on to your right.
Hey, Junk,
Yeah, what's up, Addie?
why don't you or Matson lead the way with that handy dark vision of yours?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm going to roll a 6 sense. It's 4.
You do not sense anything in the space.
Not sensing any inherent danger, Junk leads the party down this dark corridor cautiously.
As you continue, you hear a choked breathing towards the end of the hallway.
Junk throws his hand up, signaling to the party to stop walking.
Only Monson sees you.
Adeline was not going
Freddie
to talk anyway.
bumps into the back of Adeline.
Orny bumps into the back of Junk's leg.
And then Junk slowly proceeds towards whatever is breathing.
As you get closer, you see the upper torso of a gnome that likely matches the legs from the previous room is crawling slowly towards you.
Junk flinches and jumps back, and then tries to pretend like he didn't, like he wasn't scared and everything's cool.
Clumsy check.
Oh!
It's a 16.
Great. Junk is able to do this without bunting Orny backwards.
Oh, no.
Continuing to play off his flinch and not alerting the party, I want to roll a perception to quickly see whether this is the upper half of a still living gnome or yet another zombie.
Okay.
The natty 20.
That is totally a zombie.
Shit.
In fact, you see a piece of Kabana shard on the zombie's forehead, similar to what Nora described in her note to you.
Damn it.
Junk leans back to the party.
Hey, stay put for a second.
And with a bit of sadness in his heart at yet another senseless death, Junk crushes the zombie's head beneath his foot.
The now headless torso goes still.
What just happened?
It sounded like he stepped on a candy apple. Are there candy apples over there?
Yeah, Orny.
Why would you step on that?
Yeah, well, there were no worms in it, so it wasn't good.
Orny, I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, let's keep moving. Come on.
And Junk continues.
As you approach the end of the hall, light trickles in from upstairs, illuminating dimly a stairway on your left.
When he reaches the base of the stairs, Junk stops.
Here, there's a way up.
I'll take point this time.
Very funny, Matson. Ha ha. Take point, as in Kiri took my red pointed hat and now my head is naked and bald. Everyone have a good laugh at Orny's expense.
That's not funny.
You know what? I actually purchased some gnome hats at a pawn shop in Bitter Cove if you'd like one.
Why would you purchase gnome hats? That doesn't.
I don't know. I thought maybe they'd come in handy.
Handy? Very funny, Adeline. Another joke because I lost my hands. You lot are incorrigible, and I don't want another gnome's hat because that's disgusting.
Alrighty, I'm sorry.
Actually, you know what? That's actually a good point, though, Orny. You can't go into battle without a proper hat. Here, hang on a second here.
Junk is rummaging through his belongings and pulls out his beloved bowler hat that he's had to unequip ever since getting his wolf mask, and he puts the bowler hat on Orny.
It goes past his eyes and nose and floats and sort of spins around on his head.
Junk taps it and goes, perfect.
Orny lifts the hat up, and it's a little bit weird looking because he's also still wearing his purple hood underneath it. And he just says, "Oh, great. Well, I believe I have lice now. Matson, please lead us up the stairs."
Gladly. And Matson begins to walk the stairs.
Warm evening light is coming through at the end of the hall to your right. Also at the end is a set of closed double doors.
I'm going to roll for a perception just to perceive what I can perceive. 7.
It's a wooden plank hallway, and it leads to wooden doors.
Another set of doors. The only way to go.
Well, that must be the doors to Menshall's office. Keep going, Toots.
I'm going to have such harsh words for that man.
Matson leads the party down the hall towards the doors.
Orny holds out his hand. Wait. Toots. If Menshall is indeed in his office, we should all be mentally prepared. Menshall may be comparatively short in stature, but he is a master of war and armed combat. He notoriously slew a unit of 14 Sibylian mercenaries by himself with only a pair of hunting knives. He won't go down easily.
Well, we've come this far, so whatever it takes.
Agreed.
Matson continues, and when he gets to the door, he takes a brief moment and looks at the party, and then tries the knob.
And the knob turns.
I slowly push the door open and peer inside.
Through the crack, you find a room identical in shape and size to the one downstairs. More evening light is coming in through the window, a desk is on the left, a short shelf is on the right, and straight ahead is a gnome looking out the window wearing general's attire.
I open the door with confidence. Menshall!
Menshall turns. His face is rotting. He's a zombie. Roll for initiative.
God damn it. 8 for Adeline.
6 for Junk.
6 for Henny.
5 for Matson.
Menshall emits a monstrous hiss, spraying chunks of coagulated blood from his throat. He begins to shamble towards you, but as he does, Orny rolls between Matson's legs with his cudgel, stands, and knocks off Menshall's head with a single hit.
All right, look at Orny back to his old self. Calculating and confidently clobbering cretins with cudgels in combat.
Good to see I still got it. You know, I was on the T-ball team as a kid.
I believe it.
So that's it? The treacherous Commander Menshall we've come all this way for? A zombie?
Henny dismounts Freddy and gestures for him to stay by the door so Henny can enter the room.
Yeah, I thought he was the one leading this whole coup against Brayfrost and the rest of Rymoor.
Is it possible he was doing so as a zombie?
Well, there has to be something here to explain this.
Let's look around.
Matson is going to examine Menshall's his body, the body of his body, and roll for investigation. 9.
You find Menshall's clothes are clinging to his rotting body. Aside from medals of honor, you don't find anything of note, and you think you'd vomit if you tried to search any deeper.
So Adeline walks over to his desk and starts rummaging through it, also rolling investigation. 16?
Yeah, there are some dusty books on war strategy, but what stands out to you is what appears to be Menshall's personal diary lying open on the desk.
Adeline picks it up to read.
You find 4 excerpts that appear relevant to you.
Oh, look at this. And she shares the entries with the party.
And the first one reads as follows.
That war in the north wages on. Shadow Elf scouts have been spotted as far south as Bitter Cove. Queen Lenli and Master Alchemist Kiri have a plan to bring back the Sky Tiller Amik as a means of defense. Much of the giant's fragments have been dug up in the Brayfrost Mountains. Amik was enormous. To bring him back to sentience, there's not enough magic in Filgarth to handle the necromancy required for such a feat. If only we had a second Kelbana stone.
Entry 2.
Finally, Master Alchemist Kiri and I have overthrown the Queen and locked away her petulant children. My agents in Shel's Basin are ready. Glory, Glory, Herky, Jerky, Clearly, and Whaley. No one can stop us now. Tomorrow we abscond with the Kelbana stones from Shell's Landing, Cragshaw, and Torport. No one will see it coming.
Entry 3.
We nearly succeeded in bringing back Amik, but now there's something else in the air. Something even more powerful. Oh, it's hard to explain, but we can all feel it, all hear it. A distant voice in our minds. It's telling us to do terrible things to ourselves. And then there are the visions. The world where white is black and black is white. The dead are rising. Harry fears it's the old world wizard Shel risen again. Pentagraph assures me not to worry. The litany can hurt it, he said. As long as we have it, we can control this whole situation.
And finally, the last entry.
Kiri was right. Shel is back. My friends, my family, they've all succumbed to Shel's call, taking their own lives to serve him in death. And I fear I won't have the strength to hold out much longer. I'm sorry, my queen, for betraying you. Rymoor, forgive us for what we've done.
Adeline sighs heavily. Well, there's your answer.
This is really bad. I've seen what Shel is capable of. I saw him and his peers, and I know what their intentions were, and if Shel is back, he is going to want revenge.
Revenge?
When the wizards first arrived, they felt leaving Rymoor with any magic was a grace. They see the people of this land as ungrateful, and after what Shalene or Rasa did to him, Shel will most definitely seek retribution. Friends, he won't leave Rymoor with any magic this time around. He'll consume all of it.
Rid Rymoor of all magic.
That is horrible.
Orny sits solemnly on Menshall's chair. He looks more forlorn than you've ever seen him.
And I don't mean just the stones. That natural Kelbana that's still growing beneath, he'll take every last bit of it.
Would that be so bad?
Junk turns his attention to Matson, confused.
I mean, I have total confidence that we'll be able to defeat Shel, but even if he consumes all the magic in Rymoor, can Rymoor really not live without it?
Matson, no. When people think of magic, they see casters, spells, my summons, but magic does so much more for us. The magic that feeds those things is the same magic that feeds all people's emotions. Henny walks toward the window. When you look out at that sunset over the mountains, there, what do you see? Or more importantly, what do you feel?
Well, it's beautiful. It makes me feel calm.
I think it's empowering. It makes me feel invincible.
It makes me feel humbled.
Those feelings you have inside you are thanks to magic. A world can exist without the spells and without the tricks, sure, but not without the feelings that motivate them.
Without magic, there's no happiness, no joy, no love.
We can't let that happen.
And we won't. What does Menshall mean there about the litany? The litany will hurt it.
Well, a litany is a book.
Well, I can tell you that if it's meant to be a weapon against Shel, this litany must be a very heavy book.
I would like to roll for Arcana to see if there are any sources of magic in the room. 14.
Yeah, Henny is like hit in the face with how much magic there is in the room. He finds it comes from the three objects sitting atop the bookshelf.
Henny walks closer to these items he feels the magic of to get a closer look.
The objects are evenly spaced and labeled in gnome language on the bookshelf. The first two look very similar, rotten and petrified orbs the size of basketballs. The left one is labeled Eye of Temu. The right one is labeled Eye of Amik. The last object is a hefty book labeled The Litany of Rasa.
Ooh.
Well, look right here. This says Litany. The Litany of Rasa. He pulls down the book and he hands it to Orny.
Orny takes the book. My, this is such an old artifact. I should be really careful with... Whoops.
No.
Oh, just kidding. Here we go. He turns the cover carefully and finds that the pages are written not in ink, but in whirling, ever-changing, glowing blue glyphs. Orny briefly goes cross-eyed as he attempts to read it. I don't think I can read this.
What is it, Orny?
He flips through the pages until he reaches the last page, where a sealed envelope is glued to the back cover. On the envelope, it says, "Do not open," in every language of Rymoor. Ooh, this calls for some cross-referencing. And he begins to search the bookshelves behind Menshall's desk.
Junk walks over to the shelf next to Henny and gestures to the labels on the two other objects.
Oh, these look like giant hamster testicles. What do these say?
Well, this one says it's the Eye of Amek.
Eye like eyeball?
Exactly. And this, the Eye of Temu.
Wait, who was Temu again? Did you see him in your vision, Junk?
Oh, yes. Temu was a sky tiller just like Amek, but very different in nature. Polar opposites, actually. They called Temu the Merciful. He was the kindest of the sky tillers, and so, of course, when the wizards came, he was the first to fall.
Displaying the rotting eyes of sky tillers. Speaks to Menshall's arrogance.
Oh, I think I found something here. The envelope contains a translation of that glowing blue mumbo-jumbo. The Litany of Rasa are the fabled words spoken by Rasa as she completely rended herself from this plane of existence to drive away the remaining wizards after Shel died. Speaking the incantation should cause great damage to Shel, but as none of us are near goddess-level sorceresses, doing so will also likely kill us.
So our only weapon against Shel is the guaranteed death of one of us.
Well, then, it's just not an option.
Adeline nods in agreeance.
I do agree, Junk. There has been too much death. But if the situation calls for it, I am quite old.
No, definitely
and
not.
Logic dictates
No,
it
Orny,
should
not
be
another word. Not an option.
Hey, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
There's an uncomfortable silence for a moment as they all look towards the litany in Orny's hand. And then, after another moment, he puts the book in his satchel. So, anyways, Henny, what do you think about those eyeballs? Do you want to take one of those?
Well, I'm not sure. My instinct would be to destroy them right where they sit.
Okay, no problem.
No,
Junk, I
wait.
wasn't finished!
Junk takes his hand off of his hammer.
The other thought I had was that if there was some way to use these eyes in our favor, it would be a shame to not have them with us.
Yeah, but that could easily backfire on us.
I stand with our king here. Better to have an eyeball and not need it than need an eyeball and not have it, or whatever.
Exactly.
Adeline, do you still have that bag of holding?
Yeah, I have it right here.
All right, so let's take them. They'll be safe, hidden away in case we need them. And at the first sign that we need to, they'll be easy to destroy.
That sounds like a wise plan to me.
Adeline pulls out her bag of holding and opens it up.
Henny reaches out cautiously to the merciful one, the Eye of Temu.
When Henny touches the eye of Temu, he is filled with hope and comfort, coursing up his limbs and warming his heart.
He puts the eye into the bag and reaches cautiously for the Eye of Amek.
The eye of Amek conversely fills you with grief, terror, and dread.
He quickly drops the eye into the bag and shakes out his hands.
Are you okay, honey?
I'm all right, just a little jittery. I'm fine.
Despite both eyes resting in Adeline's bag of holding, it looks no larger and weighs no heavier than it did before.
Adeline closes the bag and puts it away.
Well, there's only one thing left to do. We have to find Amek or Shel, whoever or whatever is out there waiting for us.
We must be close to where they've been reassembling Amek. And something that size is impossible to hide. I'm sure if we simply find some nearby high ground, we'll see exactly what's waiting for us.
Well, let's go find some bad guys. And Adeline makes her way back outside.
Henny resaddles Freddy by the door and follows.
As does Matson.
As Junk is exiting the room, he comes across Commander Menshall's head that Orny knocked clean off, and he looks at it on the ground for a moment.
What did you do to us?
And then he steps on it as he exits.
And with that, the party exits the Filgarth barracks, back out into the chill of the ice and snow. A switchback path of ascending ramparts leads deeper south into the Brayfrost Mountains. As you climb higher, you see the majesty of this once great civilization. The towering spires echo the peaks of the mountains they were built into. Glacial water is carried north from aqueducts on high. Meanwhile, the death is apparent with every step. Smoke from burning towers in the distance and frozen corpses at your feet. The path ends at a snowy slope dotted with a trail of footsteps. Henny leads the way up the slope, and you crest the hill and look down to this shallow quarry. Far towards the towering face of the quarried mountain, you find 3 gnome necromancers milling about, each with a unit of 5 undead thralls. The thralls vary in race: human, gnome, dwarf, and sibyllin. Behind them, however, exists something far more interesting. Standing 8 stories tall, supported by scaffolding and the face of a mountain, is the patchwork corpse of the Skytiller Amik.
Oh,
One eye and all.
Oh, so cool.
He wears a Kalbana stone on his forehead and on each forearm. Hovering in the crook of his collarbone is the risen sorcerer Shel. He appears to be in the middle of breathing life into Amik, powering up the glowing Kalbana stone on his forehead.
Matson is taken back by this mighty sight. By the gods, would you look at that? I'm guessing that's Shel up there?
Well, now this is strange.
Which part? The giant naked god or the floating corpse?
That is most definitely Shel, but he looks a little different than he did in my visions. Like, he's somehow missing something.
And look, it doesn't seem like Amik is awake yet either.
Oh, of course. Amik is not complete, therefore neither is Shel. He needs to finish what Menshall started, bringing back Amik to return himself to his true power.
That's great news, right? In this weakened state, he should be easier to defeat.
As you're saying this, Adeline busts out the ancient liquor bottle she found near Valkyrie at the trading post, and she takes a swig.
Matson reaches over with an open hand,
She nods and hands it to him.
and Matson also takes a drink.
Now pass that good shit.
I hand it over to Orny.
Orny takes a big swig as well. He hands it up to Freddy. The Yeti does not understand what it is, and he passes it back to Henny.
Henny takes a swig and then passes it to Junk.
Junk takes it and holds it outwards, pouring just a little bit out.
This one's for you, Scampersan.
And then he downs what's left of it.
Adeline looks down into the clearing and sees the necromancers and thralls standing out in the open between the party and Shel, and she just shrugs and turns to Matson. Well, no chance we're getting the drop on them, huh?
Matson observes this and analyzes the scenario, shaking his head. No chance whatsoever. Head on is our only option. He looks over to Junk. Just how you like it, isn't it?
Junk smiles.
Yeah, kinda.
Well, we'll follow your lead.
Why, thank you.
Junk takes the now empty liquor bottle and throws it to the ground at his feet.
The bottle shatters against hard ice, and the 3 necromancers immediately turn to face the party.
Bad news, you evil bastards.
Adeline readies her bow.
Matson draws his daggers.
We've come here to drink ancient liquor and kick ass.
Orny downs a rock skin potion, covering himself in protective stone.
Henny summons Samathi the Dryad to his side as Freddy lets out a ferocious roar.
And we're all out of ancient liquor.
And Junk downs a rock flesh potion of his own before pulling his warhammer off of his back.
The necromancers command their thralls to charge the party.
Junk lets out a primal roar and begins a charge of his own.
Matson follows.
As does Adeline.
Oh, we're going all of a sudden. We're going. And Orny charges as well.
As the group charges, Henny stays back and calls out to Samathi, "Cover!"
Samathi soars across the battlefield, conjuring warm winds and sand from distant northern deserts. She does 2 circles over the necromancers and their thralls and covers them in thick clouds of a desert windstorm. For a moment, the thralls are completely covered by the cloud until suddenly the first wave emerges. Everyone roll for initiative.
Here we go.
17 for Junk.
15 for Henny.
7 for Matson.
5 for Adeline.
There are 5 thralls approaching. Junk has led the charge, and he gets first action against them.
Junk smirks as the thralls approach and is going to enact his trusty signature Rage Wind.
Great.
That's a natty 20 for 9 damage.
Ooh.
Nice.
Junk swings his Warhound into this mass of enemies, dealing 18 damage, 18 damage, 18 damage,
Nice.
18 damage to
Wow.
all 5 of them. The most skeletal of these zombies loses its head and crumbles apart. The remaining 4, however, look significantly damaged, but they manage to get back to their feet. They attack Junk in a swarm, clawing, stabbing, and slashing, but none of them do any damage due to Junk's stone flesh.
You idiots, I'm made of rock. I don't even feel that.
With that, a second unit of 5 zombie warriors emerge from the cloudy sandstorm. The sand has stuck to their oozing bloody bodies, most importantly around their eyes, affecting the accuracy of their strikes. They fan out to attack multiple party members at once. The first unarmed strikes at Junk but does no damage as it glances off Junk's stone armor. The second rushes towards Adeline but will not reach her on this turn. The third stops and raises a hatchet. He chucks it at Matson and it narrowly misses Matson's head. The last two are rushing towards Orny and Henny but will also not reach them on this turn, and it is Henny's turn to act.
Henny turns to Samathi and commands, "Slice!"
Samathi then conjures 5 balls of sand, heats them, and flattens them into shards of glass.
Wow.
She fires these shards into the back of the second unit of the zombies' heads, damaging but not killing them, except for the one most recently in front of Junk. That zombie's head splits apart like a melon, and it returns to death.
Henny then has Freddy target the approaching thrall with a standard attack just to knock it out. So my damage is a hearty 12, but my accuracy is a critical failure.
Oh.
Shit.
Freddy readies a powerful strike and slips on the ice. He punches down and cracks the ice, creating a makeshift sled that carries both him and Henny backwards down the hill towards the top of the ramparts. Henny and Freddy take no damage, but they will have to take time to climb back up to the quarry.
I'm sorry.
Where are you going?
At this time, the triad of necromancers begin to hover above the sandstorm. They chant in unison and create a triangle of glowing green energy between them. Their chant dispels Samathi's sandstorm and it fades away, revealing the final unit of 5 zombies. It is then Orny's turn. Orny removes a poultice of lightning burst from his pouch and shouts,
"Aim for those nebulous, nasty necromancers." Oh, you like that, Junk?
I do, Orny, and we will.
With impeccable aim and force, he chucks the poultice at the closest necromancer and hits him in the head. The necromancer drops out of the sky, hitting the hard ice for 4 damage, and then he stands as the poultice shocks him for an additional 15 damage.
Nice.
And it is Matson's turn.
Matson's going to do what Orny said and go for one of the floating necromancers. So he's going to take the throwing battle axe that he purchased and give that a try. Natural 20.
Wow.
25.
Oh, right. They're auto plus 5 accuracy. So 25 for 6 damage.
Yeah, Matson's throwing axe is also thrown with incredible precision. It strikes a second floating necromancer, critical hitting him in the shoulder for 12 damage. He drops to the ground hard, also taking 4 points of fall damage.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Then it is Adeline's turn to act.
So Adeline takes out one of her guidance arrows and names the remaining hovering necromancer its target.
So Adeline readies her guidance arrow for the final hovering necromancer. At this point, the 4 zombies surrounding Junk begin their assault again. The first 2 miss, clumsily swinging swords over and past Junk, blinded by blood and sand. The third breaks his own hand off as he strikes Junk. Not to be outdone, the fourth breaks off his own foot when he attempts to kick you.
Oh, God, you guys suck.
The second unit of zombies close the distance on their intended targets. The first reaches Orny, swinging a club and dealing 0 damage to Orny's stone flesh. The second one reaches Adeline, slashes with his dagger. Adeline evades the assault easily. The third one slashes Matson with his bare skeletal hands, making contact for 2 damage. And the fourth doubles back and strikes Junk with his mace, dealing no damage. However, now Junk starts to see cracks in his rock armor.
Well, that's not good.
It is Henny's turn to act. His turn must be spent reclimbing up the slope to rejoin the battle physically, but he is welcome to yell commands to Samathi from a distance.
Well, not hearing the advice from Orny, Henny just continues to yell, "Slice, Samathi, slice!"
Samathi readies 5 more shards, just as she did before. The shards strike various zombies in the fray, dealing unknown damage bar 1. It slices his head off right in front of Orny. The head of the zombie rolls down the slope behind him, right past Henny and Freddy as they climb.
Oh, good. We must be winning.
Now the third unit of thralls have closed the distance with their charge. The first collides with Orny and deals 0 damage due to his rock flesh. The second attempts to strike Junk, but can't reach him due to the 4 already surrounding him. The third reaches Adeline and swings at her with a Morning Star. Roll a defensive check.
14.
Ooh, she's quick, but not quick enough. It hits her in the side for 8 damage. The fourth fractures his arm against Matson's pauldron, and the fifth reaches no one as it shambles towards Matson as well. Orny then returns to strike the zombie in front of him. He critical hits and brains him, killing him instantly with his cudgel. His cudgel always does really well.
Yeah. Killed a thing that was already dead. Killed it.
Way to go, Orny.
And after that, it is Matson's turn.
I think it's time for Spirit Sprint.
All right.
Yes.
So it's a 7 accuracy for altogether 10 damage.
Yeah, Matson begins his spirit sprint, hoping to reach a necromancer and kill him. He succeeds in passing a zombie right in front of him, decapitating him handily as he sprints to the second, a particularly large corpse of a Sibylan. His dagger lands in the thrall's throat, and his dash gets held up there.
Damn it. As Matson struggles to get his blade out, he takes a moment to see if he's caught Shel's attention.
Sure, yeah, when Matson looks up at the scaffolding, you find that Shel cannot be bothered with the battle occurring below him. He continues to imbue Amic with his magic, focusing entirely on his goal. And it's Adeline's turn to act.
All right, so Adeline, having named the necromancer still in the sky its target, releases her guidance arrow. 14 damage.
Adeline's guidance arrow hears the whispers of Adeline's intended target. It flies towards the last hovering necromancer, unaffected by faulty aim or wind. The necromancer holds out his hand to try to stop the arrow, but the arrow passes through his hand and strikes his chest for 12 damage. He drops out of the sky and hits the ground for an additional 5 damage on the fall.
Nice.
He's looking very worse for wear, but he's still holding on, clambering to his feet.
Hell yes.
With that, it is Junk's turn.
The impact of that necromancer hitting the ground draws Junk's attention, and he immediately releases his warhammer to enact his Sikkim attack. 5 accuracy for 12 damage.
Yeah.
So just as Junk throws his warhound, a swarming zombie steps in his path. Junk's weapon leaves a warhammer-shaped hole in the zombie's chest, and it loses momentum and drops shortly behind him. Junk does a combat roll forward to retrieve his weapon and stands on the other side of the zombies.
Junk is frustrated.
You stupid zombie, you're in the way. I'm gonna kill you next.
Immediately after yelling this, 2 more zombies around him assault him.
Oh, hey guys.
The first zombie hits Junk with his sword and shatters the rock armor from his body. The second is unarmed and scratches Junk's newly vulnerable shoulder for 1 HP of damage.
God damn it, my rock armor. I can feel that now.
4 more zombies attack in succession, one dealing 0 damage to Orny's rock flesh, the next whiffing his strike against an evasive Adeline. The zombie in front of Matson with his knife in his throat reaches desperately for Matson, clawing him for 1 damage. The fourth headbutts Junk for 2 damage. Henny now crests the hill and surveys the battlefield, ready for his next action.
As much as Samathi has been a wonderful aid, Henny thinks since the necromancers are all on the ground now, it's time to change up the fight. So he returns Samathi to her crystal and pulls out the crystal for his manticore.
Oh.
A turbid fog wafts in from the east, masking the silhouette of a massive, slinking feline. One paw in front of the other, Manacles reveals himself, at first resembling an overgrown snow leopard until you see his tail. Spines grow from his haunches, preceding a slick, black, violent-looking scorpion stinger. Manacles emits a low, hungry growl.
Pounce! Pounce, Manacles!
The necromancers are terrified to see this giant extinct creature on the hunt. Manacles leaps at the first one, clawing through him and tearing him apart, just like down the middle in half.
Nice.
Immediately when this happens...
Good, Manacles, good.
2 of the zombies collapse on the battlefield as well, with no master to control them. Manacles attempts to do the same to a second necromancer, but as he does, the third blasts him back with a bolt of green energy. Manacles yelps and tumbles before returning to his paws. Perhaps distracted by his own summon's attack, Henny fails to notice a rogue zombie approaching him with a mace. It clubs Freddy the Yeti for a heavy 16 damage. Meanwhile, Adeline continues to evade the strikes of the zombie in front of her. The third one attempts to headbutt Matson, but it crushes its own skull and dies. They're rolling really bad. The fourth one does 0 damage to Orny's rock armor. Orny tries to strike back, but spins in place, missing strike with his cudgel. And it's Matson's turn to act.
Matson is going to take his blades and do a base attack against the weakest looking necromancer.
Okay.
13, 4, 6, and 4 damage.
So this poor gnome necromancer had just narrowly avoided getting killed by manacles. He turns, catching his breath, to find Matson leaping at him. Matson sees terror in the eyes of the gaunt, emo-looking gnome before he slashes him hard against the chest. This completely severs his head and shoulders from the rest of his body.
What?
Resurrect this.
With his death, 4 more zombies fall apart on the battlefield. Only 3 more zombies remain active. The remaining necromancer returns fire on Matson, shooting him with a bolt of dizzying green energy. This soundly knocks Matson on his ass, dealing 8 damage.
Shit.
And it is Adeline's turn to act.
So Adeline carefully aims a fire beetle gland arrow and attempts to hit the final necromancer. 12 for 13 damage.
Adeline's arrow hits the ground right next to the necromancer. Flames lick the hem of his robes. He sees the imminent failings of the battle, and he starts to back away towards the towering scaffolding supporting Amik. It is Junk's turn to act as the remaining zombies loom in his vicinity, 2 near Adeline on his left and 1 near Henny on his right.
Junk turns his attention to the remaining thralls and lunges towards the 2 grouped together and enacts his Rage Wind. That is a 10 accuracy for 10 damage.
Junk's Rage Wind strikes into the torsos of these 2 zombies, and on the first strike, the bodies break apart at the waist. Junk continues to pulverize the legs of the zombies until they are unrecognizable, as the upper halves crawl around sadly with their arms trying to pick up the pieces of their unlives. And with that, it is Henny's turn.
Henny points to the fleeing necromancer and shouts, "Manacles! Ravage that jerk! Don't let him get away!"
And Manacles relishes the revenge he gets to enact on the necromancer that previously shot him. He leaps in front of his fleeing prey, easily cutting off his path. The necromancer bumps into Manacles' leg and falls backwards. Looking up, he sees that the scorpion tail is in kill range. It strikes, stabbing him in the neck with his stinger before unleashing the full extent of his claws, just tearing into his torso so that his innards spill out onto the ground.
Jeez.
The remaining zombies return to death as Manacles starts to chew on his fallen foe like a rawhide bone.
Yes, oh, such a good boy. Yes, you eat up so you can be big and strong.
And with this, we've fallen out of battle. Shel's position has remained unchanged from his place on the scaffolding. He doesn't even appear to have noticed you. The risen sorcerer continues to pour a river of magic into the stone on Amik's forehead.
Junk quickly runs over to Orny, looking upwards.
Shel hasn't even noticed us.
Maybe he's so weak and old that he can't hear us from all the way up there.
Or maybe he knows that we're here and he just doesn't care.
Matson walks over as well. Now, there's one way to find out. I have an idea.
Oh yeah? What are you thinking?
Look, Shel is using the Cabana stones implanted in Amik as some sort of magic conduit. If I can get up there, get that main stone out of Amik's head, Shel won't be able to achieve full power.
If you believe your tools are sharp enough to excavate it, it's worth a shot.
Junk is looking up at Shel.
Yeah, sounds great, Matson, but I don't think he's gonna just let you stroll up and take it. And even a sneaky sneak like you isn't sneaky enough to do that right in front of him.
I can if I've got a distraction. Think you guys can draw his attention away from Amik?
Well, whatever we decide, we should really be acting faster right now.
Okay, it's a plan. And she draws a guidance arrow as she looks to the party. Let's get as far away from them as we can.
Matson turns to Junk and Adeline and Orny. My friends, if this is to be our end.
Matson, it won't. Good luck.
And Matson starts his way up the scaffolding.
Adeline turns. Okay, let's go. And begins to sprint away.
So Orny, Junk, Adeline, and Henny all rush out into the clearing.
Henny whistles at Manacles to also join the party.
Manacles turns obediently, and he has the gnome necromancer's hat stuck in his lip the way that pets do, and he trots over towards Henny.
Once far out enough in the clearing, Adeline whispers Shel into the tip of her arrow, draws it back, and releases. That's 14 damage.
The guidance arrow launches up towards Shel, seeking the target of the back of the ancient wizard's head. And it collides, instead, with a magical barrier. This previously unseen barrier is translucent blue and 15 feet in diameter, with Shel at its epicenter. The guidance arrow tremors in place, trying desperately to penetrate the magic until a giant frostbat soars in and chomps up the arrow in its mouth. The frostbat then continues to circle ominously, guarding its master.
Upon seeing the magical barrier and frostbat, Junk's stomach sinks. Matson! And he begins to run as fast as he can towards the scaffolding, screaming out,
Matson! Matson, wait!
Matson is too far away now. He's approaching the 3rd level of scaffolding, so he's too far away to hear you.
Junk picks up the pace and bounds up to the 2nd level, calling again,
Matson!
Matson still cannot hear you, but as you cusp the top of the first stairs, Matson sees you through a fortunate series of holes and gaps.
Matson, seeing that Junk is trying to catch his attention, stops.
Junk is giving the no-go sign, pulling his finger across his throat.
Matson peers around the edge of the scaffolding to see what Shel is up to.
Shel is still working, seemingly unfazed and unaware.
Matson looks down at Junk, then looks back up at Shel. Matson is full of resolve, so he keeps climbing.
Damn it, Matson, you always gotta be a pain in the ass.
And Junk continues to climb.
In realizing what all is happening and worried that Matson might face Shel alone, Henny quickly draws manacles back into his crystal and pulls out the crystal for Slady Dragon so Henny can summon her to Amek's shoulder.
Multicolored confetti rains from the sky and collects in the nook between Amek's collarbone. Looking dazzling in a glacier-inspired look, Slady Dragon appears and pops open a blue fan that says "Over it" in silver glitter.
Once is an instance, twice is a hobby. Let's get to it, honey.
She fans herself off casually before she notices she's standing right in front of Shel.
What? That's one ugly daddy.
Throw shade at that guy. That wizard. Just throw shade at him.
Hey, Grandpa. Ooh, come on over here. I got some cure condition for all them ugly warts on your face. That one on the top is leaking, by the way. I don't think that's healthy.
She's so good at what she does.
To Slady's credit, she does draw the attention of Shel. He stops his process of empowering Amek and holds out both hands. Shel exerts a blast of sheer force. She's knocked out of her heels off the top story of the scaffolding. She cries out as she falls, stopping only to notice Amek's giant sky-tiller dick as she plummets.
Damn, y'all. Amek was a 3-legged bitch.
Instead of splatting against the ice, she explodes into a cloud of confetti. Henny notices the summoning crystal cracks in his hand.
Ooh, Slady Dragon.
The spirit of Slady Dragon will live on, just no longer as a summon for Henny.
Junk just sees confetti, and he has no idea what it is as he's still continuing to climb up after Matson.
By this point, Adeline has also made her way to the scaffolding and is quickly climbing.
Orny is also continuing his climb, and looking up, he notices the aforementioned dick. Oh, yeah. Accurate. And they continue climbing up. At this point, Matson has reached the 4th level of scaffolding. Here he has access to the forearms of Amek. Each one is embedded with the Kalbana stones of Cragshore and Torpart, respectively.
Matson sees the stone in Amek's right forearm and decides, what the heck, might as well try to pull this one out.
Matson rushes one of the stones and bashes into a force field, and it knocks him on his ass.
Matson, a little roughed up, stands, now realizing what was trying to be said to him, stops and takes a health potion.
At this point, Junk climbs up just in time to see Matson collecting himself and drinking his potion.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, I see that now. Where are the others?
Adeline and Orny catch up, followed shortly by Henny.
Well, Matson, guess it's time for Plan B.
Wait, when did we talk about Plan B?
Vibrations in the scaffolding cause you all to notice suddenly that Amek's body is beginning to twitch. A semblance of life is starting to return to the Skytiller.
You guys feel that, right?
Shit.
Friends, we're running out of time.
We're just going to have to keep climbing and deal with him however we can. And Adeline continues ascending.
Come on, guys.
And Junk as well continues to climb.
You all reach level 5, home to Amek's chest and upper arms. From here, you can clearly see not one, but 2 giant frostbats circling the towering structure.
The second she sees them, Adeline swiftly draws her remaining fire beetle gland arrow and aims for the closest one. 17 accuracy for 8 damage.
The arrow makes contact with the right wing of the closest frostbat. The wing is set ablaze, and the bat screeches, trying in vain to maintain its flight. This is ultimately a losing battle. It half plummets to the earth for an additional 12 damage, surviving, but crawling around beneath the scaffolding, unable to fly. The second frostbat is alerted by this action and soars towards the party, and everyone must roll again for initiative.
Natural 20 for Junk.
11 for Adeline.
9 for Henny.
4 for Matson.
As this bat swoops in close, Junk is at the ready.
Junk swiftly throws his Warhammer, enacting his Sikkim attack. 5 accuracy for 13 damage.
Junk's warhammer flies just past the frostbat and clanks against the scaffolding. As he retrieves it, the frostbat makes its attack, aiming for Adeline and Matson. You'll both need to make a defensive check.
8.
10.
The frostbat dives directly between Adeline and Matson, clipping you each with its wings for 1 damage each. Orny turns and tosses a exploding fire potion as it passes. This potion flies over the bat's head and drops all the way down to the bottom of the scaffolding on top of the other frostbat and explodes that one into fire. And it is Adeline's turn to attack.
Great. Because Adeline can't resist, she aims a charm arrow at this bat. 6 accuracy for 6 damage.
This charm arrow also flies past the frostbat, loses momentum, and drops down again upon the charred, dying frostbat. It looks up to Adeline and thinks, well, at least I have love, before it finally dies. And it is Henny's turn to attack.
Henny is going to have Freddy just do a big swat standard attack at the bat. All right, accuracy 10 for 15 damage.
As the frostbat swoops in for a second attack, Freddy the Yeti holds out one arm stiffly, clotheslining the bat just right under the jaw. The bat does a full rotation before colliding with the floor. As it sits there twitching, you see that it's decayed and zombified, brought back to serve its master Shel, and you fall out of battle.
Junk walks over to the bat and steps on its head.
That wasn't a candy apple the first time, was it?
No, Orny. No, it wasn't.
Well, let's get up there.
Yes, let's.
The topmost level of the scaffolding is all that's left, and a single ladder is the only way to get up there.
The Junk immediately begins to climb.
Junk's head pops up over the wooden floorboards of the final level of scaffolding. Shel is hovering in place, uttering a mumbled, choked hiss as he pours light blue energy into Amic's Kelbana stone and open mouth. Amic continues to twitch and heave as the life is restored to him. Shel is hardly recognizable from the powerful wizard Junk saw in his vision. This Shel has spent centuries dead beneath the Brayfrost glaciers. His deep blue robes are tattered, his skin is gray and pulled tight against his frame. The meager strands of his hair are ghostly and waft from his skull like smoke. He turns his head slightly to you, but continues his ceremony.
Junk waits at the top of the ladder and helps each of the party members as they make their way to the top layer of the scaffolding. Once they're all up, he takes his warhammer off of his back and he wipes off all the zombie guts stuck to it from the previous battle, and he looks to Shel.
Hi, Shel. How's things?
You're unsure if Shel says anything to you. A distant chorus of whirling whispers are coming from him, or the wind, or the mountains. His speaking voice has been silenced by decay. Shel is bound together by his bitter hatred for Rymoor.
Oh, the quiet type. Okay, no worries. We're very familiar with quiet types.
Junk and the rest of the party at this point are creating a unified front, all walking slowly towards Shel as they speak.
Oh, I'm so sorry. How rude. We should probably introduce ourselves. Well, I am Junk of Fernway, the Anomaly, the Orcan Human, Hunter of the Demoness, and these are my friends.
I am Orny, former Kelber of that stone that you're currently corrupting, and sworn protector to the people of Rymoor.
And I am Princess Adeline Rose Summers, saboteur of tyranny and liberator of the great people of Biteport.
I am Henny, son of Lenley, master summoner and king of the Brayfrost, the land you unwelcomely occupy.
And my name is Matson Greyshore Valchik.
Yes!
And I'm the one that's going to send you back to oblivion.
Adeline makes eye contact with Junk, mouth agape.
Matson, what?
Shel cocks his head. He continues to hold out one hand, pouring life into Amic. He holds out his other hand and clenches a bony fist. Instantly, a slick black staff materializes in this fist.
Wow, Matson, he really does not like your names.
Shel's mystic barrier that stopped Adeline's guidance arrow is still in effect. It's invisible until you touch it. Light blue energy gathers around any part of you that makes contact and prevents your entry.
Looking for ideas? I'm going to roll for Arcana. And I got a 1.
Critical failure.
Despite the overwhelming amount of magical energy projected from the 3 Kelbana stones and Shel, Henny amazingly is not attuned to any of this. All his years of magical study fail under the pressure. He's unable to determine the magical nature of the barrier.
I'm sorry, everyone, but I don't see any way of taking this barrier down.
Well, maybe he'll do it for us if we offer him something he wants. And Matson looks towards Adeline.
Adeline takes out her bag of holding and withdraws the eye of Temu in an attempt to trick him and holds it up above her head. We have the eye of the Sky Tiller. Surely he's more used to you with 2, right? I mean, where are you going to find an eye patch that big?
The moment Shel sees this eye, he discontinues his ceremony, he drops his barrier, holds out his other hand, and telekinetically draws the eye of Temu to it. On contact with his hand, he reels in pain, drops to one knee before shattering the petrified object with disdain.
Ah, whoops. I thought it was the other eye. Sorry.
Ooh, he is not happy with you. Everyone, roll for initiative.
That's a natural 20 for Junk.
12 for Henny.
And as Matson is still affected by the Brave Frost chill, he rolls a 4.
I rolled 1.
And right out of the gate, everyone roll a defensive check.
Henny got a 20.
12 for Adeline.
10 for Matson.
8 for Junk.
Shel puts his hand to his throat and lowers his head. In the eyes of Matson, Junk, and Adeline, the world flickers momentarily to inverted colors.
Oh.
That distant chorus of whispers rushes in, dizzying and deafening. Among the sea of voices, you hear,
Give up. End it. There is no fighting. Take your life and serve me. Serve me in death.
The words are powerful. Part of you feels the will to comply. The world returns to normal, but you are shaken and disturbed. You're not sure you can resist Shel's control the longer you remain in his presence. It's Junk's turn to act.
Junk, immediately filled with this despair and Shel tugging on his own brain, turns to the party. What the hell was that?
All right, so at even not 100%, Shel is still pretty powerful.
Yeah, lesson learned for next time we fight an ancient dead wizard. Don't underestimate.
Well, at least the barrier's down, right?
Oh, that's my Addy, always with the silver lining.
And with his turn, Junk is going to enact Bide. And so when the awkward feelings drift away, Junk stands up.
Oh, is that all you got?
And he's hoping to draw the wizard's ire for his next turn.
Orny looks to Junk as he does this with some confusion. He pulls his last lightning burst potion from his pouch and chucks it at Shel. Shel waves his staff in front of his face and redirects the poultice so that it flies off ineffectively into the distance. With that discouraging turn of events, it's Henny's turn to act.
Henny gives Freddy a big pat on the back and says,
Give him a donkey kick, Freddy.
9 accuracy for 23 damage.
Nice damage.
Ooh.
Shel appears unsure as to what this Yeti could be doing. As Freddy plants his mitts and kicks upwards, Shel hovers upwards and riposts, firing blue flames from his staff and scorching him for 14 damage.
Ouch.
Not good.
And it's Matson's turn.
Assuming that all the protective barriers are down now, Matson is going to take a chance and scale Amek's head to get at that main Cabana stone.
Give me an athletics check.
6.
Matson leaps onto Amek's shoulder and looks up at his patched together face. It's going to be a tough climb.
Oh, all right.
With that, it is Adeline's turn.
Adeline quickly withdraws another guidance arrow and names Shel as its mark.
As Adeline names her arrow, Shel begins to whip his staff around, conjuring a storm of bitter cold wind. This spell whips across the top of the scaffolding and will deal damage to everyone at the start of their turn until it passes. That's 2 HP of damage to Adeline, Matson, and Junk.
Oh, jeez.
And only 1 HP of damage to Henny, Freddy, and Orny thanks to their regional frost resistance. And as it's Junk's turn next, he starts his turn losing 2 HP.
Junk is going to keep it simple and charges him with all of his might. Big overhead smash, and he's going for armor break. That is a 14 for 11 damage plus the 2 from my bide attack.
Junk attacks, blinded by the windstorm, and misses as Shel hovers out of his strike zone.
Great.
On Orny's turn, he takes 0 damage due to his rock armor. He digs desperately into his potion bag and finds a potion of Caltrop Burst. He kisses it before he tosses it, adjusting it for the wind, and he makes contact, exploding shards of metal and glass against Shel for 26 damage.
Nice.
Yeah. The attack is enough to bring Shel back to the ground on one knee. And with that, it's Henny's turn to act. Both he and Freddy take 1 HP of damage from the bitter cold.
Henny reaches into his summoner's robe and pulls out the crystal once more for Samathi the Dryad.
Samathi appears in a burst of hot air, contrasting the icy cold wind whirling around her.
Samathi, blast that cold dead lich.
She obeys, pummeling Shel with a blast of hot air. He braces himself against the torrent, but is pushed back and singed by this force. Next, it's Matson's turn, and he takes 2 points of damage as well from the cold.
Matson continues his climb up Amek's head towards the stone.
Give me another athletics roll.
Here we go. 11.
Matson jumps and grabs a hold of Amek's ear and begins his climb. He finds grips and footholds in the lobe and by the thick twine used to lace the behemoth together. By his next turn, he'll have reached the summit.
All right.
Adeline begins her turn next, taking 2 points of damage from the bitter cold.
Okay, it's time for Adeline to release that guidance arrow. For 8 damage.
Adeline's guidance arrow ignores the windstorm and finds its mark in Shel's side for 6 damage. Shel pulls the arrow from his flesh and rises back into the air for his rebuttal. Using his staff, he draws energy from the stones in Amek's forearm and skull. The staff pulls the energy in and fires it back like a comet. This powerful attack explodes against Orny, blasting the rock armor from his body, but thus dealing no damage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's one way to get rid of it.
Junk's turn is next, and he takes another 2 HP of damage from the cold.
Junk, considering his previous single strike was so easily avoidable, decides it's time to charge in with his good old trusty Rage Wind. 17 accuracy for 14 damage.
Junk's Rage Wind rages against the wind, and he manages to strike Shel before he takes flight too high, hitting him 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 5
Yes.
times
Nice.
for 40 damage total.
Woo!
Shel drops down to his knee again, and it's Orny's turn, who takes this opportunity to strike with his trusty Earthstone cudgel.
Yeah.
Shel sees Orny coming, though. He sidesteps and strikes Orny physically with such force, Orny flies back and collides with Amek's chest. Sliding through the gap between the scaffolding and Amek, Orny then falls, dropping an unknown distance because he's simply out of sight.
Oh no.
Orny!
And it's Henny's turn. Both he and Freddy take 1 HP of damage from the cold.
Freddy, I believe in you. Give him a kick right in the teeth. And once more, Henny and Freddy go in for a donkey kick. So with an accuracy of 9, he does 21 damage.
Ooh.
Freddy again goes to his mitts and donkey kicks Shel into the air for 14 damage. Shel flutters and drops off the side of the scaffolding, and you have no idea where he is anymore.
So considering that we can't see where he is right now, he trusts in Samathi and commands her, "Do as you will!"
Samathi appears relieved to be told to act on her own accord. She floats above the storm and conjures a warming breeze equal and opposite to the bitter cold. The act returns the air to a still with 0 damaging properties.
Oh, God.
Oh, I feel so much better.
At this moment, Matson reaches the top of Amek's head and finds the Shel's Landing Kelbana stone deeply infused with Amek's rotten skull. In your assessment, no blade on your person would be strong enough to remove this stone.
Matson, realizing that any attempt to physically pry or cut this thing out of the head is going to fail, so he puts away his daggers and reaches his hand out and attempts to access his deepest memories of magic.
Nice.
19.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
A very specific memory rushes Matson's mind. A training session at the Seaside Academy in Greywatch. You and your fellow students lifting boulders with your will. Matson's veins in his forehead pulse as he attempts to dislodge this stone. The exertion makes you feel like your head might explode. This leads to the realization that you never ascended to the level of magic necessary to accomplish this feat. This would take the force of at least a dozen high-powered mages. In the wake of your efforts, Matson collapses to his knees.
Matson showing signs of fatigue, like he just tried to lift a 500-pound boulder with his arms, catching his breath.
And it is Adeline's turn.
Adeline, unsure of where Shel is, without anything to aim at and out of guidance arrows, reaches into her bag and pulls out the poultice of unyielding defense she took from Curie's tower.
When Adeline drinks this potion, she feels her skin begin to harden, but in a much different way than when she consumed Orny's rock potion. Her face and body distorts. She grows claws and a crab-like shell. Extra arms shoot out from her sides. She has officially become a crab person in this transformation.
Oh my goodness.
In this form, her defensibility has tripled, but her ability to wield a bow and arrow with pinchy claws has significantly diminished.
Junk looks at her absolutely mortified, but also his stomach rumbles a little bit and he realizes how hungry he is.
Adeline looks at him very cautiously.
What the hell did you do? You look delicious.
Interrupting this unusual turn of events, Shel returns, hovering up at your level. He points his staff at Junk and roll a defensive check.
Critical failure.
Ooh.
A blast of force knocks Junk into the chest of Amek, and he too slides between the chest and the scaffolding. In the eyes of Adeline, Matson, and Henny, both he and Orny could very well be dead.
Henny is aghast and mumbles to himself, "Oh, this is not going as hoped."
But as Junk falls, he passes the chest and past the abdomen. He sees Amek's bush, and clinging to the bush, it's Orny, still very much alive. Orny sees Junk coming and rolls down Amek's genitals to the third story of scaffolding.
My.
Junk then collides with Amek's junk hard for 6 damage and rolls down next to Orny for another 4 damage.
Junk shakes off the cobwebs after Shel's strike and his subsequent fall and is immediately relieved to see that Orny is okay.
Oh, Orny, you're okay. Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, how fares the battle? I landed on something I'd rather not talk about.
Well, that's a first.
Well,
We've got to get back up there.
we do. Is Shel's still alive then?
Yes, and he's kind of kicking our ass.
We're going to have to use the litany, aren't we?
No, Orny, I said it's not an option. You know what's going to happen to whoever reads that. We can handle this.
All right. I believe in us.
And with that, Junk and Orny begin their climb again, and it is Henny's turn to act.
Henny is worried for Freddy, so he forgoes giving Samathi a command and instead takes out his rock skin potion and pours it into his Yeti's mouth.
The ride on Freddy's back becomes a bit bumpier. Rock scales form on Freddy's skin. He looks back to you with appreciation, understanding that this will protect him. And it's Matson's turn.
So Matson, seeing that the Kalbana stone is embedded in a way that he doesn't think he'll ever be able to get out, looks down at Shel from the head of Amek. He sees that things are not going well. For all he knows, Junk and Orny are dead, and the time for small actions has passed, and it's time for something drastic. So he draws his daggers and is going to leap off of Amek's head and attack Shel from above.
Ooh.
16 accuracy for 5 and 6 damage.
Adeline and Henny watch as Matson makes a terrific leap with blades outstretched. He collides with Shel in a deadly embrace, stabbing the wizard in the neck and the spine. With nothing but air beneath them, Matson and Shel both begin to plummet into the quarry. Junk and Orny see Matson and Shel fall past them as they climb.
Seeing that, Junk immediately stops and changes direction, rushing down to the ground level.
And Orny follows as fast as his little legs can carry him. As the icy ground draws closer, Matson is going to have to make a high fall saving throw for impact.
6.
Oh.
When Matson and Shel collide with the earth, Matson managed to land on top of Shel, who takes the brunt of the impact.
Oh.
Matson still, however, takes 26 points of damage and lies still, bleeding out with broken bones, incapacitated and on saving throws to ward off death.
Adeline scuttles to the edge to look over.
Henny and Freddy do the same.
Looking over the edge, you see the dark spot stories down where they landed. Matson is still, Shel is still, until all too suddenly the wizard rises again, lurching up to a sitting position and tossing Matson's body off of him. Slowly, Shel returns to his feet.
What the fuck?
How? How is that possible? What is it going to take?
Shel holds out his hand and his staff returns to him. He sees Henny and Adeline at the top of the scaffolding, and as he did before, he draws energy from the 3 Kalbana stones, charges his staff, and fires at Crab Adeline. And I need you to roll a defensive check.
That's a 6.
The incredible energy strikes hard, but due to Adeline's bizarre new armor, she only takes 10 damage as she gets knocked backwards onto her crab shell with her legs flailing in the air. It's Junk's turn now, and in his rush, he made it down to the first level. From here, he can see Matsson's body and Shel standing 40 feet away from him.
Junk seeing Matsson's lifeless body on the ground in front of him, and for all he knows, Shel just killed Adeline. Junk is filled with rage and fear, realizing he's too far away to strike him. Traditionally, he pulls back, and with everything he can, he's going to release that Warhammer for Sikkim. That is a 12 accuracy for 13 damage.
The Warhound strikes Shel in the chest hard and knocks Shel back to the ground.
Ooh.
The Warhound lands 20 feet in front of Shel, and Junk has leapt forward to retrieve it. Unfortunately, Shel sits up again with inconclusive signs of damage and returns again to his feet. In the meantime, Orny reaches the first level as well. He looks up at Adeline and Henny, far and away. Junk, fatigued and bloodied. Matsson still as the grave. And Shel still standing. His pouch is essentially empty of anything that can harm Shel, except for the litany.
Oh.
He pulls it out and turns to the back page with the sealed envelope. With only a moment's hesitation, he unseals it and removes the paper. The blue glyphs from the pages float from the litany and around him. All that's left is to speak the words of Rasa, which he will have to wait to do in his next turn.
Oh my god.
With that, it is Henny's turn to act. Henny, Freddy, and Samathi are all too far out of range to do any physical attack to Shel. They will have to use their turn to close ground.
Henny uses his turn to do just that.
Freddy carries Henny down 2 levels on this turn, and now it is Matsson's turn to do his first saving throw.
4.
Not enough to save you, but not enough to kill you outright. It's Adeline's turn to act.
So as the only one left at the top level next to Amic's head, Adeline looks down to the ground, and she knows in her crab form there's no way she's going to be able to scuttle down quickly enough. So she pulls out Curie's wand. Not entirely sure what it's going to do, she thinks to herself, please let this be anything but a fart wand. And she points it at the stone in Amic's head.
Yeah, what Adeline doesn't realize is that Curie's wand is a powerful wand of alteration. In pointing it at the stone, it changes at a cellular level to a hot, liquid, red-colored clay. It bleeds out of Amic's skull and down his face. Amic's twitching and breathing returns to a still, and you get the sense that Shel's ritual has ended more permanently.
Yes.
Nice.
Shel seems to notice this as well as it happens. He sees Junk stalking towards him, and he attempts to stop him the best way he knows how. He brings his hand to his throat. Junk, as the only conscious person in this area of effect, roll for defense.
It's a 14.
Junk sees the world flicker again to inverse colors. The chorus of whispers rushes towards him again.
You cannot resist. I am the way. Join me in death.
The words compel him, but something else draws his eyes. A black and orange mass of energy behind him. He sees the extent of Orny's energy being drained away by the litany. He can't give up. He will not serve any other master, never again, not when his friends are willing to give their lives to stop this terror. The world flickers back to normal, and it's Junk's turn.
Junk's eyes are wide as he sees what Orny is in the middle of doing and the state that he is in. His human heart begins to beat faster than ever before, and he turns back to Shel. This is not how this ends. And with every bit of rage, anger, and love and pride, he rushes Shel and swings with all his might, attempting to bring his warhound down on the top of Shel's head. That is a 17 accuracy for 16 damage.
Yeah.
Shel looks almost contemplative over the lack of power he has over Junk. He has turned his head towards the risen full moon, just in time to see Junk's body black it out. Junk comes down on him with the full force of his warhound. At first, it seems as if nothing happened. Shel is frozen, Junk's warhammer is resting on his head. Then, small blue cracks tear across Shel's body, and the fiend shatters explosively Nice. The one called Shel is no more.
Yeah.
The blast from Shel's demise carries Junk backwards next to Orny. He lands on his butt and looks up to see his gnome friend. The glyphs are still alive around Orny, and the litany is in his hands as if he's bound to this ritual.
Junk looks up at Orny and swiftly swats the litany out of Orny's hands.
The book thunks against the ground, and the glyphs flutter back into the pages. Orny gradually returns to full consciousness.
Junk points at him.
No, bad Kelber.
As Orny's eyes refocus, he looks at Matson and pushes past Junk to run to him.
Oh, right, Matson.
A pool of blood has formed around Matson's body. Orny hastily kneels beside him and pulls a small purple tonic from his bag. He forces some drops into Matson's mouth and consumes some of his own. Elsewhere, Matson's distant consciousness travels to a plane of purple fog. In the distance, he can see the shape of Orny silhouetted and calling out to him. Matson! Matson!
Orny, what happened? Where are we?
He travels closer to you, though he still seems very far away. I've taken you here because I wanted to make sure I knew your wishes. I've made the mistake before of bringing a person back to life that already found peace. And you jumped from the very top of a sky tiller to end Shel. That's the sort of choice often made by those with a death wish. And it was a very impressive way to die. More impressive still if you live, in my humble opinion. But again, I want this to be your choice. Matson, do you want to live?
It's true. When I made that leap, I was prepared to give my life for Rymoor. For all of you. But I hoped it wasn't my end. I have still much to atone for. And I can't repay my debts to this world in death. If there's a chance to do more, then I want to live.
Orny smiles at you. This was the answer that he wanted from you. I'm really looking forward to hearing about the really exceptionally horrible shit that you did in detail. And I really hope you'll tell me in person. With that, Orny walks backwards, disappearing into the fog. Henny and Adeline have made their way down to the quarry just in time to see Orny reawaken on Matson's chest. He immediately starts to dig in his bag and
good, he's alive.
Pulls 2 healing potions from his bag, uncorks them, and forcibly drains them down Matson's throat. This heals him to minimum health, his wounds close up, his heartbeat stabilizes, and he awakens to see his friend standing over him. He sees Orny first. Thanks for joining us. Then Junk.
Oh, there he is. Hey, handsome.
Your new friend, Henny.
Oh, good, you're not dead.
And finally, the most disturbing thing you've seen in a long time. What looks like it could be Adeline, but as if someone ground her up in a crab cocktail.
So glad to have you back, buddy.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh, it's okay. It's Adeline.
Oh, it's me.
As you look up, the freak show continues. You see the potion's effect wear off, her crab features molting and falling off around her.
See, Matson, it's just me.
It's just me. It's just me.
Shel, is he dead? Did I kill him?
Junk helps Matson to his feet.
You sure did, bud. You killed the crap out of him.
Orny, Junk, I saw you both fall. I thought you were dead.
I landed on a dick.
Yeah, me too. Both of us. We both landed on dicks. Same dick.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're both okay.
Oh, come on, get over here.
And Junk puts his arm around Matson and then pulls in Adeline for a big group hug.
Henny smiles at Freddy and gives him a little head scratch, then turns to shake Orny's hand.
The party all take a moment to commiserate and collect themselves. From the city of Filgarth, a roar of cheers can be heard. Orny leads the others towards the crest of the hill overlooking the kingdom. The survivors of Filgarth are lighting torches and taking to the streets in celebration. The oppression of Shel and his zombie thralls has ended. These innocent civilians, once under the thumb of a corrupt regime, have all of you to thank for their liberation.
I think we just saved the world.
I know we just saved the world.
Holy crap!
What is it?
What? Scared the shit out of me.
I'm king!
Why, yes, you are. We've been through this.
Well, yes, I mean, I knew that, but I assumed we would be dead and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But now, okay, I've got a lot of responsibilities all of a sudden.
Additionally, you have to decide what to do with this giant naked corpse standing over here.
Aw.
Yep, I certainly do, and I will. I suppose I should head to Castle Filgarth first and speak to the people from the throne about what all has happened, and I would love to do so with my royal court.
Junk is flattered and honored, yet in the same moment, he looks to his party mates and expresses non-verbally, we're not really the royal court type, are we?
Adeline understands what he means and looks to Matson, nodding in agreement.
Oh, yes, of course, you've come all this way, done so much for Rymoor. Your destiny is beyond this capital.
It's been an honor, Henny, Your Highness. Go take your place on the throne for the people of Brayfrost. They need you. But the people of Shel's Basin deserve their magic back. Matson looks at the party. Let us return the stones in your name.
Henny looks up at Amick and the 2 remaining stones.
The Kilbana stones, of course.
Cragshore may lay a victim of Menshall's doing, but Torport and Shell's Landing need stones back.
You are absolutely correct. My first act as king must be one that reunites the regions of Rymoor.
We won't let you down.
I have no reason to believe you would.
Henny turns to Orny.
What about you, Kelber? Have you thought about my offer?
What's he talking about, Orny? What offer?
Well, we have collected much in the way of knowledge on this journey. The growth of magic returning to this land, scraping the surface of Rymoor's history. Further, we've all learned quite a bit of ourselves. I know I have. I'm no Kelber anymore. I've spent too long cloistered away, hardly making a difference. Henny asked me if I would be his royal advisor here in Filgarth. I think, with my acquired knowledge that I have all of you to thank for, I could stay and advise this well-meaning king to do some good.
Oh, good. Great news. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a great idea, Orny. And then she slowly turns to Junk, anticipating a less enthusiastic response.
Junk steps towards Orny, and he's quiet for a moment.
May the fates be with you, Orny.
I'll miss you too, Junk.
And then he turns to Henny.
You couldn't have a better man by your side, Your Highness.
Here, take the ebony skull. I will mark on it with directional intent to silver hammer. And also, take this God's Forsaken Hand of Elmone. No, wait, that's a burrito. Here, this is the Hand of Elmone. I promise this time it will get you where you're supposed to be.
Matson takes the items. Thank you, Orny.
Good luck to you all. I'd trust no one more with this task.
Thanks, Orny. So, what do you say we all go grab a drink while we brainstorm how to get those stones out of that giant fucking corpse?
Language.
After a round of stories and drinks, King Henny's first act was to send for a school of mages to dislodge the Kelbana stones from Amic's arms. Adeline, Matson, and Junk took the stones to Silverhammer, where the people of Shel's Basin celebrated their arrival. In the weeks that followed, they personally delivered Torport's stone to its rightful temple, then to Shel's Landing to deliver Cragshore's stone. There, they observed the memorial for the fallen Kelbers and sang songs to honor the brave dwarf Kelber Selfin once again. And in the town where their lives in Rymoor began, the 3 friends chose to go their separate ways.
With a newfound sense of pride and confidence, Junk said goodbye to Matson and Adeline, bestowing each of them with a bizarre and useless gift. His travels landed him in Manor Rock, where he once again crossed paths with the former Silent Sister Rin. She was returning to Pentagrath's estate to reclaim a few items of sentimental value, memories of her beloved Janessa. Despite never exactly seeing eye to eye, together they traveled north to finish what they had started, to find a third heart belonging to a vessel of Rasa.
King Caius Falcon III withdrew his troops from Silverhammer and rode north to his kingdom in King's Promise, alongside the Wyvern Slayers Fiero, Idlewild, and Layla Arrhenius. On a starry evening along the way, with Fiero strumming his guitar at the fire, King Caius and the mystic knight Layla consummated a growingly flirtatious relationship.
Adeline returned to Sansi village to spend time with her half-brother Fenferel. After many bowls of delicious Sansi stew, and once his work in the village was no longer required, she convinced Fenferel to return with her to Biteport. The townsfolk were thrilled to see their liberator return and welcomed Fenfrel warmly, sharing tales of how during the uprising her parents fled to the east. Together, Fenfrel and Adeline helped rebuild Bightport and establish the first republic for its people.
Retired operatives Falling Star and Voren's Black journeyed deep into the Spirit Roads, finding a curious door that was on no map in either of their possession. In passing through, they found a city in ruins. Its lone inhabitants, a half-elfin woman, her deranged brother, a large bird, and an elderly horse. Nora and Voren's acidic personalities were not a good match. They didn't stay for tea.
Matson left Shel's Landing and traveled west along the Spit, responding to a call for aid by the people of Jorholland. The monks there had been having trouble with some cunning pirates. With Matson's help, they fought off the threat, and in return they gifted him the ancient secrets of their mystic order. The schools of teleportation and illusion were where he most excelled. One day, Matson began to hear familiar whispers which he followed all the way back to the Temple of Rasa and Misty Cross, where Asteria had died. But to his surprise, her body was no longer there.
Meanwhile, in the Brayfrost, King Henny did much to repair relations with the people of Shel's Basin, as well as with the gnomes in his kingdom devastated by Commander Menshall's coup. With the advice of Master Alchemist Orny, a council was created to ensure the voices of the surrounding communities were soundly heard. With the help of Softland elves, Shel's Basin free folk, and King's Promise citizens, Orny put together expeditions to long-abandoned temples to help uncover the lost history of Rymoor. For he carried the knowledge that history is the greatest teacher, and learning from it is essential for the world's survival. In quiet moments, he'd find himself looking out the window, remembering the 3 strangers that would become friends. The friends that managed to teach him the most life-defining lessons, even in his twilight years. Eventually, Orny would be invited east, to the neighboring region of Fjormire, to tell tale of Rymoor's survival in the face of great evil. There, he would discover Fjormire was facing a rising terror of its own, and he couldn't help but wonder what heroes would rise to face this new and mysterious threat.
Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, Season 1. The Rymoor Reason. World created and DM'd by Paul Bianchi. Written by Paul Bianchi and Jake Lloyd. Characters created and role-played by Paul Bianchi, Alexandra Hoy, Matt Hingstman, and Jake Lloyd. With guest of Quest role-players Joe Crandall, Noelle Ann Mabry, Brendan McKay, Gina DeVivo, Jeff Torres, Sarah Oliver, Andrew Mena, Havana Mahoney, Dom Zook, and Kevin Allen. With additional NPC voices by Veronica Wiley, Sarah Martellaro, Michelle Specht, Alex Marshall Brown, Bitch Puddin', Haley Yim, Frank Tadaro, and Dan Prevet. Theme songs by Dan Martinez, with original music by Paul Bianchi, Jake Lloyd, and The Sam and Tony Show. Produced, edited, and sound designed by Jake Lloyd. And presented by Dragon Wagon Radio.
Stay tuned for the final roundtable to find out what the future holds for Dungeons and Dragon Wagon. Until then, Paul, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
Matt.
See you next time.
Alexandra.
Bye-bye.
My name is Jake. We love you. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you
Next quest! It's Dragon Wagon.